when the feed glitches, when the screen stutters, when the story doubles back on itself, when time seems to slip a stitch, you are sure for a moment that the world broke. No, the world did not break. Your belief system got exposed. Do you see that? Right there, in the shock, in the impulse to tap, to refresh, to text the group thread, your heart reveals its loyalty. Your faith is measured not by your ability to quote truth, but by your refusal to react to the appearance of a glitch. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge. Righteous judgment is the counsel of the Master. And righteous judgment never begins with a trembling finger and a hot take. Now, the temptation is always the same: to react, to fix, to post, to choose a side. The platform failed, the algorithm is haunted, the devil got loose in the wires. Never enter the case humanly. Never permit yourself to give human advice even to yourself. Don't say, let's get this back on track. Don't say, there must be a power against God at work. God is not power. And because God is not power, there is nothing for God to oppose. If you bring a power contest into the scene, you will volunteer as a combatant in a war that exists only in belief, and you will lose because belief feeds on your reaction. Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy, not be right, be still. All right, then what actually shows up when the feed glitches? Are we seeing a broken world or a reacting mind under hypnotism, interpreting appearances? On the whole, we are suffering not from a devilish algorithm or a mischievous cosmos, but from universal belief, impersonal, unowned suggestion touching the surface of our senses and asking us to give it reality. The so-called glitch is the mask. The hypnotism is the mouth, behind it whispering, hurry, comment, fix, fear. If you are not willing to leave, mother, brother, sister, father in this case, leave your precious opinion and your urgent correction for my sake. You will not know the quiet in which the appearance dissolves. A young man wrote me last week. At 3:11, the stream froze, and my chest tightened before I could think. You see how fast? And yet faith is a split second of holy delay. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. In that one instant of no reaction, you deny belief its food. In that one instant, you refuse recruitment into the parade of personalities and powers. This insistence of appearance goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Prayer that is silence. Fasting from the very urge to diagnose, defend, or denounce. So the orientation is simple and it is severe. Do not react to the appearances. Do not try to change them. Be still and watch. We will keep the intrigue. We will not bow to the paranormal. We will let the next frames roll past without our signature at the bottom, and we will learn that nothing breaks God. Be not afraid. It is I. And if it is I, then who is there to glitch? Now let us be honest about the hour we live in. The culture is fascinated with simulations, with talk of pixels and programs, with Mandela effects and timelines braiding like ropes. I have no quarrel with their metaphors. I borrow them gladly as parables. But I will not make superstition my God. An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, said the Master, and we need not be that generation chasing proof through the corridors of phenomenon as though God were a showman, and we, the critics, we keep the intrigue. We refuse the paranormal as authority. Do you see? The metaphor may help, it may not. Principle alone governs. So we do not take a side, neither for nor against phenomena. I am not on the side of the believer in anomalies, nor on the side of the debunker. not even the side that hires you. We cleave to principle, and principle is not a personality, not a brand, not a platform. Christ is the only identity. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father. And by the same token, call no appearance your teacher, for one alone instructs in silence. Therefore we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, be it a glitch on the feed or a light in the sky. We meet it on the middle path and refuse to be recruited into its drama. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. And righteous judgment is impersonal, unexcited, unafraid. All right, if there is a principle, it must work without drama, without fear, without needing to prove anything on camera. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, and the true prayer is not a spectacle. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, close the door of reaction, close the door of explanation. And your Father which seeth in secret rewards by presence, not by pyrotechnics. God is not power. That is why there is nothing for God to oppose, nothing to defeat, nothing to put on display. The urge to make a clip, to harvest a teachable moment, is the last refuge of fear dressed as pedagogy. Leave it. Be still. Let the reality that is never televised announce itself as peace. Now, you who love intrigue, keep it, but let it point you inward. And you who fear intrigue, let it pass without argument. If ones and zeros line up in repeating patterns, if the screen trembles, if a day folds back on itself, do not announce meaning and do not deny meaning. Stand still long enough to know meaning is not the boss of you. Principle is. If our way works at all, it must work in the office with a deadline, in the home with a crying child, in the street with horns blaring. It must work in tedium as well as in firelight. Faith is measured by non-reaction, not by narrative. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Keep the intrigue as a parable that ushers you into silence. Refuse the paranormal as a tyrant that demands your attention. If thine eye be single to principle, to Christ identity, thy whole body shall be full of light, and there will be no contest left to join. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, fasting from sides, from proofs, from personalities. Prayer that is a wordless resting in I. Be still and let principle govern. Now, if we are not to fear the anomaly nor worship it, what then is this insistence that sweeps through a room when the feed hiccups, that touches the nerves before the thought is formed? It is what I call universal belief, impersonal. Inherited hypnotism, nobody's in particular, and yet seemingly everybody's at once. A background program that pretends to govern health, safety, luck, logic, and the timing of your next breath. The God of this world hath blinded the minds, wrote the apostle. And that God is not a deity at all, but the aggregate suggestion that life is in matter, that chance rules, that contagion has law, that a draft causes a cold, that a headline guarantees an outcome, that memory is a master and time a tyrant. Do you see? It is a hidden program. Only until a so-called glitch throws it onto the screen and you watch the herd expectation surge, refresh, defend, predict, despair. Universal belief is pattern hungry. It trains the eyes to arrange coincidences into threats and comforts into addictions. It trains memory to loop itself until déjà vu feels like destiny and dread feels like discernment. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Conform means bent into the mold of the program. Renewed means released from it by a recognition that it never had God's signature under it. When the stream freezes and your chest tightens, it is not you. It is the hypnotism touching a point of agreement it thinks you still hold. Refuse it, that agreement. Never enter the case, humanly. Never explain it, never fight it. Stand still. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. All right? Watch this with me. Fear ripples through a company because markets stutter. An office catches a flu in a week, not because of germs with authority, but because of belief with consent. A family's superstition around a date delivers its own omen like clockwork. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Not because you, the person, are charmed, but because you, the Christ identity, decline to be drafted into a law that has no lawgiver. Right now, I nullify any seeming law backing these beliefs. There is only one power. And when I say only one power, I do not set God up as a boxer in the ring. God is not power over. God is I, the one, leaving nothing to oppose, nothing to manage, nothing to fix. Most disturbances are impersonal, universal beliefs, appearing as power until recognized as nothing. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The knowing here is not analysis. It is that split second of inward quiet in which you see the mask as a mask and give it no stage. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from the instinct to argue with suggestion, praying without words until presence asserts itself as peace. And when peace stands up in you, the program has no screen to play on. Now, before we march off with another clever term, let us be very clear about this word observer. We are not building a shrine to laboratory jargon. We are not importing the physics classroom into the sanctuary. We borrow the word only as a signpost to an inner stance, an attention that withholds reaction, an eye that refuses to judge by the sight of the eyes or the hearing of the ears, a heart that does not take counsel from its first flutter. Be still and know that I am God. Not be curious and tinker. Not be brilliant and infer. Still, you see, nobody by taking thought can contact God. Not even the most agile mind can reach the unnameable. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul, as you imagine soul. Nobody knows what God is. Therefore, the observer we speak of is not a thinker peering through a lens. It is a consecrated stillness through which I, presence, announces itself. Do you see how the program tempts you here? A tremor in the feed, and at once the mind fidgets. What is this? Who caused it? What are the implications? And with every question, attention pays a tithe to the hypnotism, sets up candles around the appearance, calls it teacher. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Not one. Analysis is the last disguise of fear. It feels like command. It is conscription. So we step back half a breath, a split second, and we do nothing. We refuse the first interpretation. We decline to furnish the appearance with allegiance. And in that holy non-act, the observer is born. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let the earth of your senses keep silence. Let the temple of your awareness be undisturbed long enough for Christ to speak Christ's own word. Attention is a lever. It does not belong to the world. It belongs to you in Christ. If you place it upon the appearance and stroke it with commentary, you strengthen the film and call it law. If you rest it naked and unreactive, in eye, without petition, without bargaining, the film finds no light to project upon, and it fades for lack of theater. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Single to what? To principle, not personalities. To presence, not patterns. To eye, not to the rumor of eyes opposite. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, fasting from interpretation, prayer as silence. And then, unannounced, the click piece, not conclusion, fills the room, and you know without arguing that nothing has happened to God, and therefore nothing authoritative has happened at all. All right? Practice this even now. When the next ripple comes, let it come and let it go. Do not escort it with thought. Enter thy closet. Close the door of appraisal. Pray to thy Father, which is in secret, and let your reward be the felt invisibility of trouble. Observation without reaction is the doorway. Analysis is the detour. Hold the doorway and watch how the so-called program cannot run in a house where the lights are lit and nobody is applauding the show. Back to the subject of reaction. Because this is where the whole path either stands up in you or collapses back into clever sentences. Faith, your faith, is shown not in the abundance of quotations you can summon, nor in the speed with which you can explain an occurrence, but in the refusal to be moved by it. He that believeth shall not make haste. You are on the middle path when you neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, not even a spectacular glitch that fills the room with chatter and your pulse with drumming. Do you see that? The test is not whether the anomaly vanishes. The test is whether you remain unhurried in eye, neither fear it, nor court it, nor condemn it. Meet it without an edge, without a sigh, without applause. Now, do not at once run for tools. Don't humanly fix. Don't spiritually argue. The urge to troubleshoot is the same hypnotism as the urge to theologize. Both are reactions. Both give the appearance a chair at your table. Be still and know that I am God. Be still first. Knowledge follows stillness, not the other way around. God is not power, and because God is not power, there is nothing for God to overpower on your behalf. Therefore, drop the contest and the commentary. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, fasting from impulse, fasting from explanation. Prayer is inner quiet, so naked it has no words to spend. In that split second, peace, be still, is not a command you hurl at a storm. It is the voice that rises when you stop hurling anything at all. All right? If you want a metric, take this one. Your progress is not the tally of phenomena you report, not the number of glitches, synchronicities, or visions collected like stamps. Your progress is the steadiness with which you refuse to be moved. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Nothing shall offend meaning. Nothing shall recruit their attention into agitation, defense, or display. If the feed stutters, you do not flinch. If the feed dazzles, you do not preen. If praise comes, you bless and pass on. If blame comes, you bless and pass on. You are not on a side, you are with principle, which has no opponent and needs no advocate. The middle path is not neutrality born of fatigue. It is consecration born of seeing one. It is not indifference. It is I. So measure yourself not by outcomes, but by pauses, not by victories, but by vigil, not by how many storms you have hushed, but by how often you did not invite a storm into your boat. Let patience have her perfect work, And patience here is simply the absence of reaction long enough for principle to reveal itself as the only presence in the room. Non-reaction is both the evidence of faith and the method of realization. Evidence, because your calm announces your trust without a word. Method, because in that calm, the hypnotism finds no handle, and the reality that needs no defense shines of itself. Stand still, refuse recruitment, let the hush have you, and you will find that the appearance passes through a place where there is no one to hold it. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. And stayed means stayed, neither fearing, loving, nor hating the flicker on the screen, but resting in I until I alone is all that is noticed. Now let us take one of the more beguiling flickers, the moment they call déjà vu, that quick shiver of having been here before, said this before, seen this cup tilt at this angle in this light. At once the mind rushes in with fascination or dread. Time is broken. I am broken. The world is a maze with repeating rooms. Do you see how quickly the program recruits you? The very texture of the moment feels charged, and you want to do something to label it, to chase it, to tell someone. Never enter the case humanly. Never diagnose time, never diagnose yourself, never diagnose God. Judge not according to the appearance. And déjà vu is an appearance about appearances. It is a show about a show. Don't join the audience that gasps. Here is the practice. Name it impersonal, and name it without heat. This is a universal belief in mental patterning. It parades as power, but it has no law to back it. Right now, I nullify any seeming law behind it. There is only one power. Then stop. Not another word, not even a spiritual word. Let the naming be a simple removal of a mask, and then wait a breath or two. Be still and know that I am God, not the God of loops and omens, not the God of messages and wallpaper. I, presence, unlooped, unbroken, unhurried. A young mother wrote me from a stairwell, child on hip, grocery bag biting into her wrist. Halfway up, the whole landing snapped into a memory I knew I didn't have, she said, and my stomach turned as if I were trapped in a puzzle. She had read these pages, so she did one thing only. She stood one step, just one, and said within, without drama, this is impersonal suggestion, universal belief in replay, no law, no power, no author, then nothing, no finishing prayer, no bargaining for comfort, no analysis for meaning. In the next breath, the click piece, not explanation came, and the landing was only a landing again. It is I. Be not afraid. The child laughed at a squeak in the railing, and the spell had no witness left to keep it alive. All right. Why does this work? Because fascination and dread are the fuel. The loop has no light without your attention to shine it. Analysis is worship in softer clothes. We neither fear, love, nor hate the sensation. We meet it on the middle path, where principle, not pattern, governs. Don't try to make the feeling go away. Don't try to hold it. Refuse recruitment. He that believeth shall not make haste. Give it that split second of reverent delay. That little fast from commentary, this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, and the hush will announce for itself. Be not afraid. It is I. Then walk on. Not because you conquered a mystery, but because no mystery ever touched I. So the next time the room winks and claims you have been here twice, bless and pass on. Recognize the impersonality. Breathe. Fall silent for a heartbeat, and let presence witness itself. Let the loop pass through a place where there is no one to hold it, and you will find only the unbroken, now remaining, without omen, without edge, without story, just I. Now another flicker comes, but not with charm. This one arrives like a fist in the belly, a chill in the marrow, a wave that says, now, now, now. Something is wrong. 2 in the morning and a siren somewhere far off seems to thread a needle through your heart, or you are at your desk and a sentence blurs and a thought streaks across the sky. Catastrophe. At once the surge demands a story, a villain, a cause. It wants a face to accuse, a body to suspect, a bank account to interrogate, a god to bargain with. Do you see how quickly the program reaches for a personality to inhabit? Stop. Never enter the case humanly. Do not hand it a face yours, your child's, your employer's, your pulse. Say within, and say it as one who knows the difference between truth and commentary. This dread is the race belief in danger asserting itself. It is impersonal suggestion. I refuse sides and personalities. Right now, I nullify any seeming law behind it. There is only one power, and then be still, all right? You feel how the mind tries to finish that sentence, to add a why and a how. Don't give it a tail to chase. Perfect love casteth out fear. And perfect love is not an emotion you can whip up. It is the felt fact of one presence. Be still and know that I am God, not the God who scans the horizon for threats, not the God who signs non-compete clauses with evil. God is not power, no, not power over danger, because where one is, there is nothing to oppose, nothing to quell, nothing to fix. So you breathe once, not as a technique, but as a sign of willingness, and you let the wave pass through a place where there is no consent. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Let meaning allow the heart to remain untroubled by refusing to furnish the appearance with a narrator. A woman wrote me of such a moment. She stood in a grocery line and dread leapt up as if a hook had been set in her spine. Your father is dying this minute. Her first impulse was to abandon the cart, to dial, to run. Instead, because she had rehearsed in quieter hours, she said within, this is universal belief in danger. No face, no law, no author. I refuse sides. Then she closed the door of reaction for a breath. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. And the closet this time was a silence large enough to hold the universe without judgment. In that wordless fasting, fasting from scenarios, fasting from the itch to check, there was the click, not information, but peace. 5 minutes later, she did call, and her father was cheerful and speaking of tomatoes. Do you see? The proof was not that the report came back good. The proof was that dread had lost its leverage before the report ever mattered. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Prayer not speech, but the assent of stillness. Fasting not from food, but from personalities and plots. Stand still and let I, God, be the only presence noticed. If action is required, it will rise without compulsion and without hurry. If no action is given, do not invent one to satisfy the program's demand for drama. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And in the kingdom, alarm has no law. Refuse to be drafted. Rest in presence until the wave spends itself on a shore that never moved. And you will discover that what seemed urgent was only an echo asking for your voice. Give it none. Let peace speak for itself. Now another flicker comes, wearing a smile. The numbers line up on the clock. A song speaks the sentence you just thought. A friend texts the very question you wrote on a scrap in your pocket, and your heart does a pleasant somersault. All right? Do you see how quickly the same program that sells you dread will sell you worship? The whisper now says, announce this, frame it, make it an omen, tell your story so the world will know you have found favor. Never enter the case humanly, not even the lovely cases. Do not react to good appearances any more than to troubling ones. An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and that includes a craving for holy sequence. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, yes, even this charming one. Here is the practice. Receive what comes, and instead of fastening on it, let gratitude rise without clinging. Gratitude, yes, clutching, no. Name the temptation impersonally if you must. This is universal belief in omens, in Patterner's law. No face, no private favor, no power. Right now I nullify any seeming law back of this. There is only one. Then be still. Not another sentence. Enter thy closet. Close the door, even against good news, if it would make you boast. Rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. Rejoice in identity, not in phenomenon. Christ is the only identity, and in Christ there is nothing to collect, display, or post. A young designer wrote me in great excitement. Every time I prayed about my portfolio, emails pinged at 111 or 222. I knew the universe was winking, he said, and I started timing my submissions to the hour. A week later, the numbers stopped, the inbox quieted, and panic took the same chair where pride had just been sitting. He asked for a technique to make the patterns resume. No, never permit yourself to give human advice to yourself, principle over thrill. I asked him only to bless whatever alignment arose, and then to fall silent, to withdraw from checking the clock, to let gratitude be a bow toward eye, not a superstition toward digits, and to walk on. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The adding is none of your business. The seeking is your consecration. In a month, doors opened and some did not. Either way, he learned that peace did not swing with the hinges. Do you see? Clinging is just fear dressed for a party. Where your treasure is, be it in omens or outcomes, there will your heart be also. Let your treasure be I. God is not power, so do not enlist coincidences as proof of a contest you think God must win on your behalf. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, fasting from the ooh and the ah, as surely as from the oh no. Prayer is a quiet that does not consult the meter. If thine eye be single to principle alone, thy whole body shall be full of light, and signs will be like birds that alight on your fence and then fly on. Bless their landing. Refuse to build a cage. Receive without reaction, neither fearing nor worshiping the sign, and walk on in I. Now let us speak of how we hold this together, because if these words live only in your private room and not in our shared room, we will have theology without a temple. I invite you, yes, bring your accounts, your so-called glitch moments, your letters and comments, but bring them as offerings, not as trophies. Bring them as windows through which we can see the universal belief trying its old tricks. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. In my name means in my nature, in principle, not in personalities. If we gather in the name of drama, we will have drama. If we gather in the name of I, we will have silence that heals. Now, when a story is told among us déjà vu on the landing, a midnight wave of dread, a string of charming coincidences never enter the case humanly. Don't ask for the gory details. Don't diagnose. Don't dispense fixes. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is impersonal. It refuses to grant authority to a sensation by draping it on a person. We answer gently together. This is the race belief presenting itself. It has no law, no author, no power. Right now, we nullify any seeming law back of it. There is only one. And then, beloved, we stop. We fall quiet. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. And in the community, the closet is the hush we agree to keep 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute if grace calls for it. No counsel, no analysis, no meter checking, just the soft consent. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see what we are doing? We are borrowing the story only long enough to return it to source. We language. Always, we refuse sides. We refuse personalities. We refuse to make the teller a hero or a victim. If someone pleads for a technique, we do not hand out a toolkit. We point to the inner room. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slower still to advise. The moment we begin handing around recipes, we have put the appearance in the teacher's chair and ourselves in the pupils' desks. No, Christ is the only identity here, the only teacher. God is not power, not a counterforce to glitch or fear. God is I, and where I is, there is nothing to oppose, nothing to orchestrate, nothing to prove. All right, let us fix our custom. A testimony arrives. We listen without hurry. We strip it of personality. We affirm one, and we keep silence until the click piece makes itself known. We do not ask for outcomes. We do not post the after photo. We let patience have her perfect work. And if no dramatic change appears, we do not prod the story to earn its keep. We rest. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from verdicts, from sides, from sensationalism. Prayer as a shared stillness so steady that universal belief cannot find a handle in any of us. So bring your accounts, yes, but know why we gather. Not to amplify personalities, not to decorate the wall with case histories, but to escort every story back to principle and into silence. Together we will learn the middle path. Together we will let God have its perfect work. And in that togetherness, unexcited, unafraid, you will feel the presence in the midst. And the appearance, finding no audience, will simply pass through. Now let us make this practical, and let us do it without turning practice into a gadget. We will keep a ladder 4 rungs and a little drill, not to climb into heaven by effort, but to descend from idea into contact. First, universalize. Whenever the feed hiccups, whenever the heart skips, whenever delight or dread flares up, say within, and say it as one who declines personalities. This is not personal. This has nothing to do with me or thee as persons. This is universal belief appearing as power. Right now, I nullify any seeming law back of it. There is only one. Do you see? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, so do not drag a face into it. Borrow the story only long enough to return it to source. Second, deconstruct your theology on the spot. God is not power to fight error. God is one, and one has nothing to oppose. Hear, O Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord. If there is one, then there is no second presence with which to contend, no opposite to measure, no arena for victory. Do not set God up as a boxer in your ring, summoned to knock out a glitch on your schedule. God isn't mind as you think mind. God isn't even soul as you package soul. Nobody knows what God is. Good. That leaves you free to stop enlisting God in a contest that exists only in suggestion. Drop the fight. Drop the counterspell. Stand in one. Third, release outcomes and timelines. This is the fast few will take, but it is the rung that holds. He that believeth shall not make haste. Don't check the pulse of your peace. Don't put a meter on the hush. Let patience have her perfect work. If fruit is to appear, it will ripen of its own root. If not, you will not coax it by staring at the branch. Your consecration is to presence, not to a result. If the one that engaged you wants to win or lose, let that be their business. Yours is to serve principle, not a side, not even your own. Fourth, and here is the heart of it, prayer and fasting. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Prayer, not speech, but the inward consent to silence. Fasting, withdrawing even from the finest statements of truth, refusing to hold the mind's hand while you wait for the click that is not thought but presence. Enter thy closet. Shut the door on slogans, on analysis, on the itch to improve the scene. Be still and know that I am God. Now the micro drill, so simple a child can keep it. 3 breaths, not as magic, but as a courtesy to stillness. On the first, let the shoulders fall. On the second, whisper within, be still. On the third, do not add a word. Then sit 1 minute 60 slow counts if you must, without finishing a prayer, without seeking a sign, without bargaining for an answer. If thought knocks, let it knock. Do not open. If feeling swells, let it swell and fall. Do not surf it. Do not suppress it. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. When the minute is complete, do not evaluate. Rise or continue as grace leads. If action is needed, it will present itself without hurry. If none is given, you are complete. That is the ladder from concept to contact, from naming to no word. And the work is not your concept. The work is God contact. The peace of God which passeth all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds, not because you engineered it, but because in the hush I announced myself as the only presence there is. Stand still, neither fearing nor favoring the appearance, and let I be I. Now watch where life will examine your vows, not in a monastery, but at 9:30 in the office, at 7 in the kitchen, at 5 on the bypass, a flare-up in the meeting, a cool silence across the table where you love someone, a lane that will not move while the clock strides on. Each of these will press you to find a side, to lay hold of a personality and kiss it or strike it. Don't. Never enter the case humanly. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, and that includes the flesh and blood of a boss, a spouse, or a driver who drafts so close you can read last year's oil change on his sticker. We ignore the person, we get to the principle. If you have faith, you will not make haste into judgment. He that believeth shall not make haste. Take your split second, enter thy closet even with eyes open in a conference room, and know this is the race belief in conflict, urgency, or pride parading as power. It has no law. There is only one. In the office, you may be hired by a side. Not even that side is your concern. Your interest is only in bringing forth a spiritual activity, not in who seems to win. Let the union shout. Let management posture. Let the numbers bristle, stand still within. Judge not according to the appearance. Say inwardly, without performance. I refuse personalities. I refuse sides. There is only one presence governing. Then be still. If you are given a word, it will not be a tactic. It will be peace wearing a sentence. If the one that engaged you wants to lose, that is his business. You are consecrated to principle, and principle needs no victory lap. In the home, tenderness can harden into positions. One asks for closeness, the other for space. One prays aloud, the other resents the sound. Never give human advice. Never preserve a shrine to an arrangement. If spiritual harmony can only be achieved through separation, let's have it, and if through union, let it be. What, therefore, God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. And what God joins is not a contract, but identity in I. Stand in the closet of silence, together or alone. Refuse to make a villain. Refuse to anoint a hero. Charity suffereth long and is kind. And kindness here may speak or keep quiet, may stay or may go, but it will not take a side against the one. On the street, the catechism is horns and brake lights. The hypnosis says, choose, rage or surrender, neither. 3 breaths, not as magic, as courtesy to stillness. Be still, no word. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Stay right there at 30 miles an hour, and let the lane be a parish where you practice refusing recruitment. Render unto Caesar your attention to safe driving. Yes, render unto God your attention to I. If a siren calls for room, make room. If a driver cuts in, bless and pass on. Blessed are the peacemakers, and the peacemakers are those who will not enroll their awareness in a contest. Do you see the one thread? In every arena, forsake sides. Serve principle. Let harmony appear as it will and when it will. God is not power. Therefore, there is nothing to overpower. Your work is silence, non-reaction, and fidelity to one. The rest will take care of itself, and you need not check the meter to prove it. Now, because I know the itch in the fingers and the clock on the wall, let me say it plainly. Stop checking the meter. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Faith does not sprout faster because you stared at the soil. Trees do not pry up their roots to see if they have grown an inch since yesterday. They stand where they are planted and let sap have its quiet way. Do you see? The very act of measuring interrupts the life you wish to trust. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, not with a human gaze that would grade its progress. Let it be. Let patience have her perfect work. And patience is not lethargy. It is consecration without a stopwatch. Saul of Tarsus did not tumble off his horse on Friday and preach a city into silence on Monday. No. He wrestled. He learned to be still under a name he had once persecuted. And 9 years, yes, 9 passed before the outward ministry walked in its shoes. You don't think for a minute they can understand it that day? No. My hour is not yet come, the master said. And there were miracles waiting behind that sentence that no calendar could coerce. All right? Then, if you have faith, you will not make haste. Stand still. Let maturity bring to light what is ripening in the dark. Let Christ announce Christ when Christ is ready to be noticed. God is not power to hurry the sap. God is one, and in one, time serves revelation, not anxiety. Now a word about your books and your pencils. If you must keep a record, make it a holy ledger. Journal your non-reactions, not your results. They are the true harvest. Note the morning you met a jolt without a story. Note the meeting where you refused sides and felt the hush step in. Note the drive when horns asked for anger and you gave them breath. Do you see? Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Nothing shall recruit them into agitation. Record the pauses, the silences, the little fasts from commentary, because these announce maturity without a trumpet. The outcomes will scatter and arrange themselves like birds. Your business is to become the branch that does not shake. Do not time the click. Do not grade the hush. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. You cannot peel the ear open with worry and call it faith. Be not weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. In due season, meaning when principle, not personality, calls it forth. So do your simple work. Prayer and fasting. Prayer is stillness. Fasting is abstaining from the endless checking of signs and clocks. Consider the lilies. They neither toil nor spin nor consult the calendar, and yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Let that be your model. Stand where you are planted. Refuse to pry up your roots. Stop checking the meter. And you will find that while you refuse to monitor life, life revealed itself. Now I must say the sentence that both startles and saves. God is not power over, not power against God. Isn't mind as you think mind. God isn't even soul as you package soul. And nobody knows what God is. Do you see why that is relief and not theft? If God were a power, there must be another power to measure against it. More, less, equal, ascending, descending, and then you are back in the arena, recruiting deity as your champion and praying for the knockout. No, hear, O Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord, one, where one is. Contest cannot start. Where one is, error has no law to lean on, no opposite to grant its silhouette, no wind to fill its sails. The game ends before the whistle. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth, the master said. But he did not mean a fist to swing. He meant the non-opposed fact of I. I and my Father are one, not allied, not partnering across a line. One. I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. Do you catch the paradox? Because God is not power, nothing opposes, because there is no second presence. The whole arithmetic of strong versus weak, good versus evil, collapses into the simplicity of is. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Spirit is not a weight on a scale. Spirit is the scale, the room, the fact. All right? Then stop arming God to fight your glitches. Each time you set up a wrestling match, your prayer on one side, the appearance on the other, you loan reality to both contestants and wonder why the bell keeps ringing. Judge not according to the appearance, and do not judge God according to the appearance either, as if the Holy One must prove himself by pinning your symptom or your circumstance to the mat. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, because we have ceased to treat phenomena as powers. This is why we impersonalize, not to be cold, but to refuse law to error. Universal belief has no charter signed in heaven. It is a rumor looking for a clerk to stamp it. Decline the job. And now the practice that seals this. Forget all the truth you know, yes, even the good sentences you have cherished just long enough to let truth know you. Close the book, close the mouth, Enter thy closet, shut the door, be still, and know that I am God. Not a power to enlist, not a concept to cradle, simply I, self-evident. One breath to fall, one breath to empty, one breath with no word. Wait for nothing, and you will not miss what is already present. In that unopposed presence, the glitch cannot stand because there is nowhere to stand. Ending the power contest ends the glitch. One leaves nothing to oppose. Let I announce I and walk on. So here is our quiet field test. Not a show, not a contest, just a week of fidelity. When any so-called glitch presents itself on a screen, in a feeling, in a room, pause. Don't lunge, don't decorate it, don't post it. Universalize it once. This is not personal. This is the race belief presenting itself as power. It has no law, no author, no authority. Refuse sides. Not my side, not their side, not even the side that seems noble. Principle, not personalities, governs. Then wait 1 split second if that is all you have. 60 if grace gives it. Wait in silence. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. And this closet is not far. It is a breath, a willingness, a door you can close in the middle of traffic or typing or tears. If you crave a sentence for the threshold, let it be only this: Father, here I am, and then no more words. Not a string of promises, not a bargain, not an inventory. Here I am. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Be still after that. Be still, and know that I am God. Not power to fight, not mind to calculate. Simply I. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Prayer as the hush. Fasting as the refusal to feed the appearance with analysis or applause. Sit in the unclenched moment and let presence announce itself without your help. All right? And then what? Nothing and everything. If action is needed, it will rise from peace without hurry or heroics. If no action is given, do not invent one to justify your consecration. He that believeth shall not make haste. When the wave knocks, you will find there is no door to open. When the charm winks, you will find there is no hand to extend. When the dread pleads, you will find there is no desk where you issue it a badge. The pause is your testimony. The non-reaction is your measure. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. So this week, make your ledger not of outcomes, but of refusals to be recruited. A blip on the feed, pause. Universalize. Refuse sides. Silence. A twinge of deja vu, pause. Universalize. Refuse sides. Silence. A sudden dread, pause. Universalize. Refuse sides. Silence. A happy synchronicity, pause. Universalize. Refuse sides. Silence. Father, here I am, and then no more words. You see? The world didn't glitch your belief system, tried to recruit you. Decline the recruitment. Judge not according to the appearance. Let the appearance pass through the place in you where it finds no partner. I leave you with this, not as benediction only, but as identity remembered. It is I, be not afraid. Or as another gospel has it, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. Walk with that sentence under your ribs. Refuse the contest. Keep the hush. Let I be I in you, and the rumor will dissolve for lack of echo. Beloved, unseen and yet present, go in quietness. Practice the pause, and you will discover that what seemed to come to stay has no place to stand. Be not afraid. It is I.